Hello everybody, this is Dino GTO and this is going to be my update video on the T25 pilot. Now, you may have noticed the video I put out a few days ago. T25 pilot was like the mission reward was part of the title, was part of the title. Yeah, that video is no longer relevant. So I'm going to make an update video, basically just going over some of the details that were changed. And I was right in that video by pointing out this is probably the more accurate model because all the changes that happened on this actually happened. So let's see. Let's just go quickly into this here. So the other day when I looked at this thing, it only had 500 horsepower. It got an extra 30 horsepower, and it also got a significant boost in the frontal turret armor. So if I just show you here, so look, this was nowhere near this good yesterday. If you look at the video from the other day, they had nowhere near this kind of armor thickness. I mean, that is just it's like night and day. There's such a huge difference in terms of the armor. Uh, the the armor outside the mantlet is still trash, but that armor. Oops, what the hell happened there? Okay, the armor outside the mantlet is still trash. Like the side armor, completely awful. Rear side armor, totally awful as well. And everywhere on the turret except for the mantlet is also awful. But the mantlet buff is a significant buff because this is an American medium, remember. American mediums are pretty much all about the turrets, which is why I probably never going to own an M48 Patton because that thing's turret's kind of shit. But okay, so yeah, I'm not going to talk shit about the M48 much in this video. But let's see. So that armor buff is a significant buff and will help this thing a lot in terms of its overall performance on the battlefield because it'll help its survivability for one. The survivability in this thing will go up significantly purely because of that one buff on its own. Because that combined with a wee bit of extra speed it got and a little bit of extra part to weight ratio, this thing will be significantly more mobile than it was. Or well, not mobile, significantly more usable than it was. Before, I thought it probably would be one of the worst tier 8 premiums, but now it's probably up there, I would say, with the FE4202 and the M46KR. I've put above the Moots and above the Panther 88. I don't own a Panther 88, or Moots, but the Panther 88 and the Moots just don't seem like great tanks. They just seem like kind of eh. But overall, this thing here has improved significantly. All the other stats have remained the same as far as I can see. I'm just going to do the quick comparison between this and let's just go through all the mediums, look and see. Let's see, what's a good vehicle to compare this to? A high DPM, roughly 90mm gun. In fact, let's just compare the normal Pershing, why not? Okay, so in terms of engine power, not even a contest. But in terms of weight, let's see, what's the weight difference? There's a 5-ton weight difference, but there's also a 170 horsepower difference in the engines. But there's also a significant difference in the actual terrain resistances. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because Pershing easily has the power to weight ratio by over 2, and the tank traverse speed on all terrains is going to be worse on the T25 Pilot than it will be on the Pershing. The Pershing because the engine power difference is able to traverse better than the T25 Pilot. But the T25 Pilot has ground resistances that are significantly better than the Pershings. So I'll be intrigued to see which one is actually faster. My bet is on the Pershing. I think this thing will struggle due to its low engine power for the weight of the tank, like 37 tons. How much does the Centurion weigh, as an example? I think the Centurion weighs like 45 tons. Let me see. Search Centurion 1. Where are you? There you are. How much do you weigh? You weigh 45 tons. Okay, this thing weighs 45 tons. It has a 16.7 part to weight ratio, which I believe is very similar to the Pershings. Yep. It also can do 50. This thing here will get to its speed in like no time at all, and its ground resistance are actually better than the Pershings. So the Centurion Mark 1 is a really, really, really good tank in terms of mobility. Now, it's actually surprisingly good. Like, I didn't realize till the other day that speed boost was pretty much all this tank needed to become a pretty decent tank overall, in my opinion. But turret's still crap in comparison to what it was in standard definition. But this isn't about the Centurion. But I would say this thing will probably struggle overall in terms of mobility because it's still a pretty heavy tank. 37 tons is not exactly a lightweight. Like how much does yeah, that's probably going to be the last tank I actually checked the weight of. How much does a T44 weigh? T44 has more horsepower, by the way. I should just mention that right now. T44 is 2 or 3 tons lighter. It also has an extra 150 horsepower on the engine. So the T44 is easily going to be faster than this thing. The ground resistance don't even matter in this scenario because the engine power and the part of weight ratio, it's just no contest in terms of part of weight ratio. But a vehicle that occurred to me the other day that this thing is actually extremely comparable to is the T44 100. Now, the T44 100 is not as slow as people reckoned it would be. So this thing is actually a pretty good comparison between the two vehicles. I'm just going to finish the comparison to the Pershing just here quickly. In terms of overall armor, Pershing will still definitely be the better tank. It has 10 less. It has 10 less health than the T25, but in terms of track health and ammo rack health, T25 Pellet is better. But in terms of engine health, the Pershing's better. Pershing gets 10 meters better view range. Pershing's going to be better at ramming due to the extra armor and the extra weight. Pershing carries more ammo and has a better shell velocity. The gun stats on the T25 Pellet are just clearly better. I mean, just look at that. That's a significantly better set of gun stats. Like it's got a better aiming time, got a better rate of fire, got a better reload time, got a better penetration. But that's kind of balanced out by the crappy shell speed that the T25 Pellet gets. And it's also got better soft stats. So yeah. Let's just quickly take this out. Oops. Let's just compare it to the T25 Pellet. Let's see where you're at. I've totally lost it. There it is. And if I click this, that should get rid of the Pershing. Yeah, there it is. Really convoluted way of doing that, I know, but whatever. Okay, actually thinking about it, I should probably compare it to the T44 100 directly. Probably makes more sense. So I just totally wasted time there. Whatever. Let's see. So the difference between these two tanks is the T25 Pilot focuses more on the hull down survivability, whereas I would say the T44 100 is infinitely better in terms of the hull survivability. Because the hull on T44 100 has really, really nice angling. Like this hull can bounce shots that you would never expect it to bounce purely because of the angling and the relatively thick upper frontal glacis plate, and the sidearms also pretty damn good at 75 millimeters. 75 millimeters on a medium tank is pretty damn solid actually, so that's really damn nice advantage the T44 100 has. The one thing I do need to say though is the T25 Pilot, it has 50 millimeters. 50.8 millimeters. It won't be overmatched. It won't be triple overmatched by things like ISU 152s because it's just about big enough to just about big enough amount of armor to bounce those kind of shots. And then we've got the hiccups. I'm sorry, but yeah, this plate here will not take damage from shots like that, but this plate here will. That's an advantage to the T44 100 because the ISU 152 will never overmatch this side armor. So that's an advantage to this thing. The turret on this thing, however, is infinitely worse. The turret is kind of crap on this thing. It relies totally on RNG to bounce shots. That's the honest state of this thing's turret. So yeah, in terms of overall stats, I'll just quickly show this. Okay, T25 Pellet gets more health. It gets better module health overall. I mean, they speak for themselves. It gets better view range. It gets better for gets better everything in this general area except for fire chance. It's a heavier tank. It has less armor though, so kind of interesting. I'm not sure which one would be better in terms of ramming because the weights are only 4 tons different, but the armor on the T25 Pilot I would say is considerably weaker, and I think it could be close in terms of a ramming contest to see which one would take more damage. And it's also kind of funny. The T44 100 actually has a worse top speed than the T25 Pilot. But let's see here. Okay, in terms of power to weight ratio, even the T44 100, which has a pretty low power engine in comparison to the standard T44, there's a 160 horsepower difference in the engines. But the T44 100, its ground resistances actually make up for that really, really nicely. it actually feels as fast as a T44-100, to me at least. It's so close you barely even notice it. You notice it occasionally when you're climbing hills, but for the most part, all other terrain doesn't even matter. The thing is though, the T44-100 Russian. Most of the time, you don't really want to go hold down in this thing because T44-100 because it's just overall not built to go and hold down in this thing. The only advantage is it's a smaller target, but overall you don't really want to try and use your turret because your turret's not that great. That's different for the T25 Pilot. T25 Pilot is going to need to go hold down, and this thing here, because of its lack of engine power, it's going to be climbing more hills than the T44-100 because it needs to use its turret. So you're going to probably feel the ground resistances and the lack of engine power and the power weight ratio in this thing more than you will in T44-100. So it does have advantages though. It does have the better aiming time, it does have the better penetration, and it's actually kind of surprising this thing has a better aiming time than T44-100 because that was one of the main sell points of T44-100 in comparison to the regular T44. Apologies, I just realized I am speaking at 190 miles an hour. But yeah, I want to try and get this video significantly shorter than the last video. Okay, so in terms of gun stats, almost all of the gun stats are just better, just fly better on the T25 Pilot, except for the DPM, which is very very similar, and dispersion, which is only worse by 0.01. Now, here's the next part. In terms of damage to modules, because the T44-100 has an extra 10mm caliber to the gun, it does more module damage, and that also means it's able to overmatch more armor, more different armor plates than the T25 Pilot can. And the T44-100 also has a slight advantage in shell speed. It's not much, but you probably will notice it after a while. And bizarrely, even though it's a Russian vehicle, the T44-100 actually has more in terms of shell space, which actually I didn't realize that, so that's interesting. And also, let's see, what's the difference in shell cost? Yeah, there's practically no difference, but the T44-100 does have a very slightly cheaper shell cost, and it does 10 more damage on average per shot. So T44-100 is technically the better credit maker, but not really. And I think I've said T44-100 about 100 times at this point, but whatever. So yeah, I think that mainly sums up this thing. It's basically like the T44-100, but it's built more to go hull down rather than brawling like the T44-100 was built to do. The T44-100 is a great brawler. It's very very good at what it does, and it can also play the scout because it's such a low profile, relatively just small in general tank. T25 Pilot cannot do that there because I would say in terms of raw size, the T44 is definitely the smaller of the two vehicles. Let's see. It's very difficult to really get an accurate idea of this in Tank Inspector or Tank GG. Let's see. So yeah, overall in terms of raw size, the T44-100 is about 75% of the size of the T25 Pilot, I would say. Both of them are roughly the same in terms of length as well. So yeah, I would say overall pretty equal tanks, but the T44-100 I would say is probably more built for my kind of playstyle than it would be this thing. This thing here, I think I've changed my mind. I think I might try to go for this thing, but I probably won't end up getting it in the end. So yeah. Okay, so I think that's all I really have to say in this video. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to do? Everything seems covered compared to the Pershing, which is basically the same as the M46KR except the shell speed difference. I didn't reiterate the point though, the M46KR definitely has the better overall armor than this thing, and that armor actually does play a part more than people realize. And that's actually another point to the T44-100 now that I think of it. This thing here, because of its sloping and because of its raw side armor, this thing here will actually be able to tank shots from most tier 6s and 7s with practically no threat whatsoever. There's practically no threat whatsoever to this thing here as long as they're shooting at the front plate. If they're shooting at the turret though, this thing is going to struggle. So they're kind of opposites in terms of how they play. You want to use the hull more in the T44-100, and you want to use the turret more in the T25 Pilot. So yeah, I would say that pretty much sums up the vehicle. So yeah, let me know what are your opinions on this thing. Do you think it's going to be a good tank? Are you going to go for it? And yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.